Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again, bringing you the start of Interval 3 in my F.E.A.R 3 Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. So the brothers are returning to Fairport, and this is Interval 3, the store, or store as it's entitled. And this is an interesting mission, this, because it starts like a level midway through F.E.A.R 1, only the difference is this is a supermarket and this is... on F.E.A.R 1 it was an abandoned apartment complex. But this level is a lie. I mean, look at this. This place looks really cool. I do like this level. And when I was first playing it, I was kind of on edge. I was kind of, a little bit nervous. And that is always a good thing because I'm so desensitized these days because I'm going to have to stop saying that word. I do apologise, guys. I'm tired. I can feel it. And these commentaries are not the best. But, when I was very, very young, I've got a sister. I don't really talk about myself on my commentaries because I want it to be about the gameplay. Quick note there, when they first fell on the floor, I thought they were dildos. How ridiculous is that? Fucking made me laugh, they did. But back to the story. I had a sister who was older than me, and she still is older than me. I don't know why I said I had. I still have. And love her to bits and everything. This is not about her, really. This is just about what she used to do. My sister was an avid horror film watcher. She used to love that shit, and we used to go to my nanans when I was younger, which might be grandma's or grandpa's or whatever you fucking call it. I know every different area has a different name for it. And when we used to go there on the weekend, I assume they used to babysit for us so my parents could do things because they were still young when they had us and all that kind of good stuff. And my nana would take us down to the video store, and I was only young. I'm talking like 5 or 6 here, 4, 5, and 6 kind of thing. And my sister's, I think she's about 3 or 4 years older than me, so she's a little bit older. And she used to love horror films, and I used to love Arnie films, and action films, and Van Damme films. Anything where there was a dude on the cover, muscly with a giant gun, I would buy it. And what happened is, you could get 3 kind of old movies for a really cheap price. They weren't the ones that had just been released, on video. They were the ones that had been released, and, 3 to 4 months had passed, and then they got relegated to another shelf because they weren't so new anymore. And I'd get 3 of the most obscene looking fucking Chuck Norris films, and my sister would get Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, the list was endless, fucking the Children Under the Stairs, and just endless amounts of horror films that would put fucking hair on your balls if you've not seen them. And because we were young, and because this was, early 90s, this shit was terrifying. This shit looked terrifying. You can watch them now and you kind of think, what's scary about this? That's clearly a puppet. That blood's too pink. That sword is obviously rubber. That knife is, You can pick flaws like a motherfucker these days with things. I should also note, you're not in trouble or in danger at any point of this level at the start. Nothing's going to attack you. You're not going to lose any life. It's trying to shit you up and it's failing. But anyhow, and... She'd force me to watch them, which probably, explains why I am the way I am. But we'd sit down, she'd sit with me, and she'd spend the entire fucking film, with her head behind my shoulder, and I would be sat there with both my eyes open and my mouth open, completely terrified. And I had nightmares for years when I was a kid. I was, fucking terrorised by nightmares. But, as effect... I got immune to being afraid at films, so that horror movies, I just became so desensitized to them that I didn't get the fear anymore. I kind of, grew to understand and overcome my own fears because I had such bad nightmares from watching fucking Chucky and all that kind of shit, Child's Play and whatnot. And they don't really bother me anymore thanks to that, and that's probably why I'm, so fucking insane and crazy and what have you, purely because of this abusive childhood, thanks to my sister. The moral of the story, for to sum it all up, is if you see enough scary stuff from a young age, you just become immune to it. You just get absorbed by it. And what happens here is, this is all tense, this is all kind of creepy, and you're thinking, what's going to attack me? Is it going to be monsters? Is it going to be something scary? Is it going to be something creepy? And it turns out to be a bunch of scrubbers. A bunch of fucking homeless dudes with face paint on and, crowbars. And the fear is just completely negated by the fact that you're getting attacked by a bunch of bums. And I don't know about your guys, but I'm not afraid of bums. I'm not afraid of cultists. I'm not afraid of people. They don't invoke fear in me. Things that get me on edge and get me tense are things I don't understand. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot about the human animal that I don't understand, but in a game, I'm so used to shooting people that you're not scaring me by throwing people at me. And that's the mistake that this level makes. Because you think it's going to be some, crazy F.E.A.R monster from the other games that you've seen before, or Alma, and it just turns out to be a bunch of fucking squatters. And the best thing about this enemy, which I should probably, chime in as this is a guide and it's not, a fun time with me, is, be careful in this room. Some of them will get up just like Dead Space, only nowhere near as scary because they're actually monsters. And this enemy is pretty much exclusively a melee-based enemy. What they will do is, the AI is programmed to run at you like a psycho, as if it was the running of the bulls in, like, Madrid, and attack you with whatever melee item they've got, be it the fingernails or a sharp and blunt object. And that is it. So you are never in any kind of danger because you are faster than them, you have a sprint, you just navigate the map a lot quicker than they do, and for the majority of this level they're going to be at a severe disadvantage to you because they start off at a distance and you can just wait for them and shoot them in the face. And right now you can pick up the double machine pistols while Alma tries to shit you up by a pretty cheap and cashed in jump scare, and it didn't get me, it probably won't get you. And the main reason for it is because we've seen it so much. It's like F.E.A.R now is a franchise. We're on the 4th game effectively, and it's been forced through and down our throats so much, this concept of this little girl with this psychic ability, that it's just completely removed any anxiety or fear that there could have been, because it's just been seen. The most terrifying thing in anything, in a game, in a film, in a book, is that which is never quite seen. And to coin a movie frame, to coin a movie quote, I don't know why I said frame, it just goes to show I'm tired once again, I do apologise people. Anyway, to coin a term from the movie industry by a legendary man known as Alfred Hitchcock, who is the master of suspense and tension when it comes to filmmaking, is the only thing scarier than a bomb underneath a table going off is a bomb under the table not going off. And there's probably a bunch of dumb bastards going, I don't get it. I know that's condescending and patronising, and I sound probably really elitist, but it's called humour and satire, so fucking get over yourself and stop being so damn serious. This is not a Heath Ledger quote. And basically, what he's saying is Aliens 1 is what he's saying. Aliens 1 compared to Aliens 2. And what do I mean by that? I'm using a quote. I'm using a movie as a metaphor to explain a quote, which is about as contrived as it gets. But in the first Aliens, you didn't know what it was. You barely saw it. It was very dark, and it was terrifying. It was this creature that somehow could use the dark against people, and we obviously can't see in the dark, and it was terrifying. You didn't know where it was going to come from. You never saw it when it did. It was just perfect. It was suspenseful, it was tense, it was everything it should have been at the time, and that's why it's so revolutionary. And then the second one turned up, and you had a bunch of mouthy Marines with machine guns, and as soon as you saw the first alien, he was, in a spotlight showing you every crease of his face, and then his 70 brothers jumped out of the walls and everything went nuts, and it turned into Terminator 2. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, because I absolutely love Aliens. I think the sequel is one of the best sequels ever made, but it is nowhere near as tense or as scary as the first one is. And it's all because you didn't see it. Just look at Predator compared to Predator 2. On Predator 2, on the back of the fucking box, the Predator is there with his dreadlocks art. On the front of the box, the Predator stood on front of, that building. It's like, what's this film about again? Is it about this giant superhero dude who's saving the world? You don't even know. All you know is that there's some cool-looking dreadlocks motherfucker in a giant tin helmet that looks pretty badass. And on the first movie, if they'd have done that, you probably wouldn't have watched it. Because, I think, the first hour of the film, you don't even see it. You don't know what it is. And if I could somehow get selective, Alzheimer's when I'm older, if I had to pick an illness, this is not me wishing, a degenerative illness on myself, because that's just ridiculous. But it would be the ability to forget the groundbreaking things that I've witnessed. And it would be like, my favourite book, my favourite film, my favourite game, because the experience when I first watched Predator, I will never forget, and that is why it's one of the fondest films I've ever seen, because you didn't know what it was, and you were watching an Arnie film where Arnie was in trouble. It's like, Arnie's never in trouble, and I'm kind of feeling like he's vulnerable, and that is a brilliant, brilliant thing to achieve, and, you know, it just goes to show that John McTiernan is a genius, and that movie is fucking stellar. But talked a little bit too much about everything but the game, so back on topic. This section right now looks like it could be, you know, the garden centre section of B&Q, but it's nowhere near as safe. For some reason, the staff in this place got so damn bored of this, you know, apocalypse that they decided to start dicking around on top of the 10-foot shelves with ladders. So you're going to have to like walk across planks and things. And if there's only a single ladder, I would recommend going across it crouched, because sometimes when you walk across it standing, you'll fall off. But as soon as you get up here, it's going to spawn the Al-Qaeda branch of cultists, and they're all strapped with explosives, and they're going to run and they're going to blow up. But the luxury of this section is they're improvised explosions, so you can use them against the buddies. And if you haven't noticed, because of my, you know, monotone voice drowning out a bunch of Alien and Predator references, I've been using my melee attacks a lot against this enemy, and the reason for that is they're not that difficult, they don't do that much damage, so you can save your ammo by using your knife and your slide kick. And what I would advise is treating them like you treat the zombies on like Wave 4 of Call of Duty Zombies. Put a burst in them with your gun, finish them off with your melee, and it'll just give you that extra bit of precious ammo for if any more of the dirty bastards turn up. And obviously the explosive guys make a lovely beeping noise, so you can sound whore them to hell. If they get close to you like he did just then, don't panic, go into slow motion, back up and kill them. The radius on that device is nowhere near as high as it probably should be, but I pretty much guarantee if they get close to you on Insane, they'll probably kill you. I couldn't tell you though, because I don't think I actually died in this level. And that's not me trying to show off or anything, it's just should instill confidence in you that this game is not that challenging. But just be careful with these machine pistols. They're very fun to use, they look kind of cool, but I'm not the biggest advocate for them because they're very weak, they're very inaccurate, and I don't know. I'd rather have the gun that's slow at firing but does the damage than the gun that fires super fast and doesn't do that much damage. That's how I've always been. It's like when it comes to Quake 2, I'm a railgun kind of guy. I'm not a minigun or chain gun or nail gun or whatever it was. But this is a cool little arena. And what's going to happen in here is a B&Q advisor is going to come up and try and sell you some shelves. No. What's going to happen is a ton of the suicide bombers and the melee guys are going to come down, and this is pretty much a big square filled with, you know, lovely decking and ornamental plants. And just run around using your slow-mo, killing these dudes, try and get you back in a corner so that you can watch both sides, but don't stay too long because they do spawn very close to the corners and you don't want to get overwhelmed. And I think you've got to kill maybe 10 or 20 of them, or if it might be timed, but that gate to my left, which I've now got my back to, eventually that's going to get stacked up by a bunch of suicide bombers, and then you can just shoot them and it will open up the path to the rest of the level. All this is a little death trap. It's a little Smash TV moment where you run around in this lovely square killing dudes. And it's about as challenging as it sounds. And when that chopper turns up, that means that the soldiers are going to now start turning up, and it also means that this is coming to the end of this little, you know, rat in a maze moment of back to the wall defending, Left 4 Dead style. But it's probably a little late to tell you that this gun is more accurate if you burst fire it. If they're close, obviously you can use it full auto because the recoil is very minimal, but at a distance, even slight recoil can take you off target, so just keep feathering the trigger. That is where they're going to blow the gate down, but that's going to be left for the next video, people. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.